Hi everyone, we're on section 1.6, subtracting real numbers. I will probably make at least 2 videos on this section. We'll see how that goes. So to subtract real numbers, I actually want you to rewrite these as addition. So we can rewrite this by adding the opposite basically. So this is going to be negative 12 plus negative 8, because when it says negative 12 minus 8, the 8 ends up being negative in this case. So here we're having a party, right? We're going to add these together, and this equals negative 20. Okay, so on the next one we're going to rewrite it. We really need to rewrite this one because there's a double negative on the 17. So anytime there's 2 negatives on one number, that is going to be a positive. If you look at this first negative and think of it as the opposite of negative 17, then that's going to be positive 17. And anytime we add a negative number and a positive number and they have the same value, the equal number of negatives and positives, we always get 0. Alright, so now we have some decimal numbers, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. You might have to use your calculator to figure these out. This is going to be plus negative 11.2. Now if we think of adding the opposite of 11.2 is negative 11.2. But you can also look at this and tell that 11.2 is negative because there's a negative in front of it, or minus sign in front of it. That's probably what you would think of. And that means that it is a negative number. Okay, so if we subtract, or we have more negatives and positives this time. We have negative 2.9 more negatives than we had positives. Here's another one to rewrite. So negative 6.1 is going to be plus. So this is the opposite of negative 5.3, which is a positive 5.3. And so once again we have more negatives than positives, and that ends up as negative 0.8, which is negative 0.8. Okay, so we can do the same thing with fractions. The first fraction you see has the same denominator, so that makes it a little bit simpler, but let's rewrite this. Negative 4/7, that's going to be plus 1/7 because there are 2 negatives on that, on the 1/7. And now we're just going to add the numerators. We have 4 negatives and 1 positive, so that leaves me with negative 3/7. So we have to figure out a common denominator here. I've told you in previous videos, if you'll just take the higher number, multiply it by 1, by 2, by 3, and so on. And then as you go, check to see, does 8 go into 10? No. Does 8 go into 20? No. 30? I'm talking about where we get a nice number. How about 40? Well, yes, it does go into 40, so we have found our LCD. Didn't make a very good arrow there. And that means then we have to multiply each of these fractions to get the same denominator of 40. I don't really have space here, so I'm going to rewrite that. That's negative 1/10 plus negative 7/8. Now to rewrite these with the same denominator, I want to get a denominator of 40 for both. So the first one, 10 times 4 equals 40, or you can take 40 and divide it by 10. So I see that I'm going to multiply by 4. And I'm going to have a 4 in the numerator. Whoops, I left off my negative. Let's put that in there. And then on the second one, 8 goes into 45 times, so I need to multiply by 5, both in the numerator and denominator. And this one is going to be a negative, so I'm going to put the negative right there so it doesn't get lost. 7 times 5 is 35. When I add these two, I have negative 4 minus and plus negative 35, so that's negative 39 over 40.